Good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer, alongside Ashley. I want to show you a live picture we have coming into the H&N Digital Center. This is UH President David Lassner. He is about to hold a press briefing any moment here. It's getting started about new guidelines for opening up all UH campuses this fall. We expect him to give a lot of details here, and again, we're going to let you hear from him. Let's dip in right now. It looks like they're about to start any second here.
Aloha, good afternoon, and welcome to one of our remodeled classrooms for the COVID-19 era here at UH Manoa. Today I'd like to announce the release of our system-wide guidelines for campus planning for post-COVID-19 instruction. These are in effect for the forthcoming academic year. And these are the guidelines to which all 10 UH campuses will be developing their operational plans. That work is underway now. On most of our campus websites, we have portions of those plans developed, but it's the release of these guidelines that really lays out everything that we expect all of our campuses to do across the islands. These guidelines were developed with the expertise of our faculty in health, public health, medicine, nursing, and other fields, and they rely very heavily and draw on the guidance that's available to us from the Centers for Disease Control, the State Department of Health, and the county orders that are also in effect, which have slight variations. They cover pretty comprehensively all of the areas that we need to address to ensure a safe return to campus for many of our students and employees. And it's everything from the physical distancing in classrooms, which lowers the density, as you can see here today. We've addressed, importantly, the wearing of facial coverings. I have mine off for purposes of speaking into this microphone. Our faculty will actually be given those clear face shields for when they're teaching so that students are able to actually watch their lips and hear them better. But we will be expecting everyone inside a campus building to be wearing a facial covering, typically a cloth mask. Thank all of you for wearing them here today. The exclusions are if you are working alone at your desk 6 feet away from other people, that's not required, and they're also not required outside other than if you're interacting closely with other people. So that's a very common question. We are using a physical distancing of 6 feet. That is the current recommended guideline by the Centers for Disease Control. And that's what we're laying out as we have essentially, we're here in one classroom on one campus. This is the work our amazing staff are doing across the UH system.
And that is UH President David Lassner. Speaking about plans to reopen campuses in the fall, we're told some of the tentative guidelines include a hybrid of in-person and online classes, limited capacity in dorms, and face coverings are required on campus when physical distancing is not possible. We'll have this posted on all H&N's digital platforms, and I'll have a wrap-up of all the guidelines tonight at 5 and 6. Meanwhile, more updates into our newsroom. Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell announced Governor Ige has approved his request to extend the city's stay-at-home and emergency orders through the end of July. We also got those new numbers from the State Department of Health. Health officials are reporting 9 new COVID-19 cases today. We're told 7 cases are on Oahu and 2 are on Maui. Those Maui residents reportedly traveled to Las Vegas. Meanwhile, the plan to relax quarantine restrictions and reopen Hawaii's tourism industry starts in a month, but many say a big loophole still exists. State Attorney General Claire Connors says a new database for law enforcement should be ready once the new regulations take effect.
Everybody who is not subject to the travel quarantine. That is somebody who has pre-tested or done the pre-travel testing is not going to be in the database that law enforcement needs to be concerned about.
Come August 1st, travelers who come to the state with proof of a negative COVID-19 test taken more than 72 hours before arrival won't be subject to quarantine. I stepped over to the newsroom now to chat with Lynn Kawano more about this. Lynn, from what I understand, there's no clear plan to make sure those who say they got tested actually did.
Oh yeah, it's going to be very difficult to weed them out, right? The ones who are subject to the 14-day mandatory quarantine versus the ones who are free to go and move about as they want to because they got the pre-travel test. There's no way to identify them. So there's no plan yet to identify them. But what the city is hoping to do is to roll out a database that is monitored by the Department of Transportation. So when people land and get screened and all the information can get uploaded, as well as the Department of Health. The problem is, will it be real time? Right now, we all fill out forms, we get our temperature checked, we get our phone checked when we get to the airports. And there's a little bit of a delay, 24 hours maybe to get that information uploaded. So what the state is working on is more of a real-time database that can go to law enforcement and will only tell law enforcement which ones need to follow the quarantine. So those who are free to go will not be in that database. Is it going to be ready in time? We just don't know.
And there's talk of an app, right?
Yeah, so they're using an app right now, according to the Department of Health. They're using an app to help with people checking in and to check on people who are in isolation. Whether or not that will be able to handle more than 1,000 a day, that remains yet to be seen. They are working on it. Whether or not it'll be ready in time, we have a month now. That remains to be seen. So there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of concerns about this. At the same time, those who say we have to open up at some point, we have to take some risk.
And we have a little sound from Health Director Bruce Anderson regarding that app and the one that's already being used. Let's play that out.
We actually use an application in our work at the facilities where we are quarantining and isolating patients. It actually requires that they check in several times a day.
Health Director Bruce Anderson there. Lynn, let's talk about how people are really enforcing the measures for quarantine already in place. It's really relying on citizens, right?
A lot of social media, right? Hawaii Quarantine Kapu Breakers. They've become very popular, run by Angela Keene, and they have done a really good job of following people on social media. They say they don't profile people, but more, vacationers who take pictures at certain locations who are supposed to be quarantined, and they notify law enforcement. At the same time, that's going to be difficult come August 1st, and Angela Keene spoke with us and admits that. How are you going to know which ones are allowed to be out and which ones are quarantine breakers? So while the database is meant to help law enforcement, it won't necessarily help with the social media, and there is some concern there'll be some vigilantism, right? People will target what they believe are tourists who are supposed to be under quarantine, and really there's no way of knowing. It's not like they have wristbands when they go out, right? It's not like they're easily identified. So it will be very difficult to determine who's allowed out and who's not.
And then this is going to be your third day of reporting on this story. Great reporting. And coming up tonight on our evening editions of our newscast, you're looking at another angle, right?
Another angle. A lot of Hawaii residents want to go to Vegas, want to go to California, want to see family members, or we have a lot of people we know who have to go and take their kids off to college in the next month. Well, when this August 1st deadline happens, what about them? What if you're only traveling for 3 days? You can't realistically get a test within 72 hours as soon as you land on the mainland. So what's the plan for returning residents, especially those traveling less than a week? So we're going to address that issue. I think you're going to be very surprised by some of the things that the state's discussing. There's no plan set yet, but some of the things that they're discussing.
All right, look forward to that report. We're going to toss it back over to Ashley.
Thanks, guys. A shipment of the COVID-19 virus will be flown to Hawaii so UH researchers can join the global effort to find a cure. The Board of Agriculture unanimously gave approval to the UH Medical School despite objections from the health department and its own staff. Researchers say they need to use the same strains of the virus as mainland labs, so if they discover something, it can be shared and duplicated.
So our experts are telling us that we don't want to import the virus that's already here and killing people. Is that what I understand?
That's correct.
Okay. Can somebody explain to me why that makes any sense at all?
Critics are worried about the risk, and they say if the federal government changes the danger level of the virus, UH labs may be banned from working with it. The shipment will follow CDC rules. The research is being funded by the city and large drug companies. The Ninth Island's economy was hit hard by the pandemic. Lacey Denise takes a closer look at what some are calling ground zero of the U.S. economic crisis.
February marked a 3-month streak of Las Vegas casinos bringing in $1 billion in house winnings. The next month would start a downward spiral in revenue as casinos had to close because of the pandemic. Nevada's Gaming Control Board says gambling establishments saw a nearly 100% decrease in house winnings in May compared to the same time last year. May numbers also showed the amount of gambling taxes the state collected dropped 99.9%. There was a very small amount of revenue that came in from mobile sports betting and interactive poker. Tourism, that decreased 96% according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. There was a 91% decrease in monthly passenger traffic at the McCarran International Airport. Just last year, the airport saw a record-breaking 51.5 million travelers. These numbers followed similar results in April. Casinos were allowed to reopen on June 4th, but as more restrictions are lifted, state health officials are reporting an uptick in coronavirus cases. Yesterday in the Las Vegas area, there were nearly 185,000 people who tested positive for COVID-19, and 507 died. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Thanks, Lacey. Let's move on to another story new at noon. Alaska Airline says it's sick of customers not wearing masks. The carrier, which services the Aloha State, announced flight attendants are now able to issue final notices to anyone who repeatedly refuses to cover their face while on board. That notice will come in the form of a yellow card, and passengers who get one of them could be suspended from flying. All passengers will also be asked to sign a health agreement that promises they will adhere to the airline's mask policy before they board. There are exceptions for children under 2 and people with certain disabilities. Masks will be provided for any passenger who does not have one. At the state capitol, lawmakers have killed their first attempt at a Young Brothers bailout. With more on that, we turn to Howard Dykes.
The plan was to give Young Brothers what it wants, but collect some of it from the counties. The big snag, though, was a provision to have DOT set rates instead of the PUC. Apart from legal issues set off by that, state DOT wanted $3 million for itself to perform the work. So it's back to the drawing board as near as we can tell. 3 giant banks are asking for more masking. Monday it was Goldman Sachs, Tuesday Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley. Both make an economic case for wearing masks to slow COVID spread and prevent new lockdowns that could wipe out 5% of U.S. economic activity. Morgan Stanley says the outbreak will become uncontrollable if Florida and Texas don't act in days. The Ruth's Chris Steakhouse chain confirms closing its location in Lahaina. That will leave another one on Maui and 5 total across 4 islands. The First Hawaiian Bank says it's the first in the islands with cards that can do transactions when you hold them over the contactless symbol on merchant terminals. FHB says the new technology creates a unique record of every transaction, but almost 10 times faster than your current chip card does. The new cards, which don't have to make contact with anything to work, are going out this week by request and will also replace the old technology whenever your card is up for its ordinary renewal.
Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell wants to clean up Chinatown again. Along with planting trees, installing LED lights, and removing graffiti, the city will now begin power washing all the sidewalks in Chinatown 5 days a week.
On top of power washing our sidewalks, we're going to be disinfecting all our bus stops in Chinatown. That's 50 stops in the district. So they're cleaner. They smell better.
The overnight cleanings, paid for with federal funding, will also displace homeless individuals who live on the streets. City officials hope that homeless population will seek services at their nearby hygiene center in Iwilei. To help address the district's trash problem, businesses that don't follow the rules and leave their garbage out on sidewalks will be warned and cited, and the city can now use videos to catch illegal dumpers.
Now, if someone else takes a video and we just get the, whether it's a logo on the side of the vehicle, business, or the license plate, we enforce on the owner of the vehicle whether they were the ones in the vehicle or not.
To bring business back to Chinatown, the city is launching a pilot program similar to the open street events on Kalakaua Avenue. On Saturday, July 11th, Hotel Street will be shut down from Richard Street to River Street.
And it'll be open for people to walk, to ride bikes. The idea is to work with our restaurants in Chinatown that are struggling with the pandemic. Those along Hotel Street will be able to come out and actually fill up the entire sidewalk.
Private security patrols will also continue through the end of the year. The president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii says business owners are optimistic about the improvements.
They will be able to see some silver lining at the end and restart their business and try to bring people back to Chinatown.
Now check this video out. Scientists at Florida Atlantic University are trying to find out the most effective face covering to help stop the spread of COVID-19. They delivered a sneeze or cough from a mannequin's head wearing varying face coverings and used lasers to detect respiratory droplets. Their results showed that the droplets from an uncovered cough were able to travel more than 8 feet. Droplets from a bandana-covered cough traveled 3 feet. With a folded cotton cloth, droplets traveled 1 foot 3 inches. And with a cone-style mask, they only traveled about 8 inches. Stitched quilting fabric masks were really the most effective, with droplets traveling only 2.5 inches. Let's get to today's talker story. As the virus surge continues across the country, there's really a new concern that younger people are making up a growing number of those new infections.
That's right. Some are partying at bars and beaches like there's no pandemic. David Bignod takes a closer look at how some young people's attitudes about the virus may be fueling the spread.
I'm not too scared of getting sick.
From the West Coast in San Francisco.
It's not going to really stop me from going out.
To the East Coast in Boston.
I just personally don't care.
Yeah, why is that?
I haven't got sick yet.
And down south in Atlanta.
I'm definitely seeing a lot fewer people wearing masks.
Young people are out enjoying the warmer weather. But according to health officials, they might also be spreading and contracting the coronavirus as people pack into parks, beaches, restaurants, bars, and even concerts. Cases are rising in at least 37 states, with surges among young people linked to everything from fitness classes to summer fraternity parties.
They may be indirectly hurting people by infecting someone who then infects someone who then infects someone who's vulnerable.
In Arizona, nearly half of the coronavirus cases are people 20 to 44 years old. Last week, President Trump held a rally in the state where a crowd of around 3,000 people were mostly young and maskless. In Hays County, Texas, about 30 miles outside of Austin, young adults make up more than half of all cases. In the state of Florida, which is a coronavirus hotspot, the highest number of cases are among people between the ages of 25 and 34 years old.
If I get it, then you live with your consequences.
Boyan Adonosovsky lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. The 25-year-old salesman told us he wears a mask in places where it's required, but he doesn't want coronavirus to stop him from living life.
I need something to unwind. Some people like reading, some people like working out. I like, going and seeing other people as well. Now, if I had to go out and do that with a face mask, right? If they required it to wear a face mask, sure, I'll do that. But if they don't require it, I would choose not to.
What have you observed over the last few weeks as it pertains to COVID-19 in Florida?
The age of cases is what is most remarkable. That has been dropping steadily.
Dr. Charles Lockwood is Senior Vice President of University of South Florida Health. He's administered more than 300 coronavirus tests himself, and he is alarmed by the spike among young people.
It really is consistent with what we've been observing, which is incredible noncompliance with wearing face masks, social distancing, particularly among young adults and teenagers. The problem is that while you may not die, and you may not even know you're sick, you may be killing other people.
If my parents were to get sick, I would not be able to live for myself.
Sophia Carrion lives with her parents in Los Angeles, and she says she's strict about social distancing and wearing the mask. The 23-year-old has a message to other young people who are not taking the virus as seriously.
You know, it's not just about you. I think that's like a big mindset is people have like, oh, if I get it, like I'll be fine. It's just the flu. Maybe, but you don't want to pass it to someone who could be more vulnerable and more susceptible.
2 17-year-olds died here in the state of Florida. Yes, it is true that older people are far more susceptible to contracting the virus and having a bad outcome. But at the end of the day, younger people are dying too. They are getting violently ill. And so this was an attempt to not only listen to them and talk to them, but to provide the facts for young people and say you lose nothing by wearing a mask to protect others. David Begnaud, CBS News on Miami Beach here in South Florida.
Let's get you outside live to a live feed coming into our digital center. The time is now 12:20. Hey, the holiday's right around the corner. Here's Guy Hoggy with a look at your forecast.
How's it on this Wednesday? I'm Guy Hoggy with this Hawaii News Now weather update for you. We are going to see really sunny skies today. Not much moisture or cloud cover upstream. And luckily, we'll have nice breezy trade winds from Maui County to Kauai. Lighter winds over in Kona, so it's going to be a hot, steamy day down on West Hawaii. You can see the winds already picking up speed. They're going to be running about 15 to 20 today for most of the state. And that means beach weather across the board. Dry for leeward sides. High temperatures climbing to about 90 degrees for some leeward areas, maybe even warmer for Kahului, Maui. UV index is at the extreme level, so load up on the sunblock. Make sure the SPF is high on the reef safe sunscreen. And small craft advisory, the only alert, and that's for the east end of the state. Surf's on the way down with a little pulse moving into south and east shores by later today through tomorrow. Not a big swell, but it's going to keep the fun going. And the water temperature pretty warm at about 80 degrees. So we're in for a nice long stretch of trade wind weather. However, the trade winds will be slowing down as we head into the weekend. So it's going to be especially sticky 4th of July and on Sunday. We'll have more details on air and online.
Hey, thanks, Guy Hoggy, for that holiday forecast. You know what? Let's see what the internet's talking about right now, and it's here at home. It's all about monk seals. Let me show you this. This one's named P05. It was born 3.5 weeks ago here on Oahu. Its gender is unknown, but the Hawaii Marine Animal Response says it has been spending a lot of times with its mom. They don't tell where these are located because they don't want people rushing and crowding around it or disrupting it. You know what, Ashley? Yesterday, I actually witnessed this right in Waikiki.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sort of rare to see them there. You see them on the Kaimana side, but not right there in the heart. You can see the hotel workers came out to put some barriers around it. Certainly, they put more official ones around if he stuck around any longer. When's the last time you saw one in Waikiki?
Years, but I mean, it's because there's not that many people there anymore, I'm sure.
I know, I bet that might have something to do with it.
Oh, you were lucky.
Yeah, I know. Let's check out some of the good things happening.
That's right. For some people, touching your face is a difficult habit. So to break that habit, NASA has invented a solution. The space agency developed a wearable pendant called Pulse that alerts users when they're about to touch their face. Basically, you wear it around your neck, and when you raise your hands toward your head, it vibrates. Now, Pulse is not exactly stylish or discreet, and NASA isn't selling it, but the agency they built instructions, and it's available online if you want to make one yourself.
Yeah, I don't see you rocking the NASA necklace.
No, it's not that pretty, but that's okay.
But I could see you rocking this next story.
Right, so the Belgian Lacanois is the newest dog breed recognized by the American Kennel Club. That means the shaggy, wire-coated shepherd-style dog is eligible to start competing in dog shows. The Lacanois has been documented since at least the 1800s in Belgium, and the breed is so rare with only about 200 nationwide and less than 400 in the U.S. since 1995. There are now 196 dog breeds recognized by the AKC.
Wow, not that many at all. All right. Guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. We're going to have much more coming up on our evening newscast. Don't forget to listen to our podcast anywhere you find your podcasts. Have a good day.
Aloha.